I'm Kaitlyn Bristowe. Your session is now starting.
Erotic therapy.
Welcome to the All right, TGIT, everybody. Welcome to your monthly Vinofessionals episode. It is Thursday, which means it's basically Friday, which means we're basically at the weekend. Today we have fellow Vinos sharing confessions with me, where then I share it with you. And this month we are talking about celebrity encounters. Okay, I have a couple Vinos that are on the line to share their stories, and I haven't heard any of them because, as you know, I like to have my genuine reactions with my facial expressions and whatnot. But I got a couple teasers. I know there's a night out with Owen Wilson, and then I know that one of our Vinos got to be more than friends, if you know what I mean, with Joey Tribbiani, which I'm excited to hear that one. And then for my Canadian heart, we have one about a Canadian hockey player with an odd pickup line, which I bet I've heard it because I've heard them all. First up, we have Sheena. Oh, you're so cute. Oh, wait, you're from Alberta, aren't you?
I'm a Alberta girl.
I love that. Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
so nice to meet you. Do you pronounce it Sheena?
Yeah, Sheena.
As a Canadian, I know that Owen Wilson used to come to Vancouver a lot for filming.
Okay.
Were you in Vancouver at the time, or were you in Alberta?
So I was actually in Dawson City, Yukon, way up north.
Oh my gosh. Oh yeah, way up there. Okay,
Yeah.
so was he filming something, vacationing? What was he doing? Tell me everything. I guess start at the beginning.
I love it. Okay, so he was up there with Jack Black and Steve Martin, and they were filming The Big Year. It was some bird watching movie.
Yeah.
So they were up in this really small town of Dawson City, Yukon, old gold mining town. Have you heard of it?
Now that you say it, I have heard of it, actually, yes.
Yeah, it's the cutest little town. So I was up there working for the summer and managing the pool.
Yeah.
And they were out and about all the time, like going to kids' soccer games and checking out baseball games. And I was just like, maybe they'll come to the pool. Like, I don't know. I was just so excited.
What kind of, like a local pool?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Pool with their little hot tub.
Ooh, were you like a sexy lifeguard? What was going on there?
Yeah, I'm actually at work right now. I'm managing the pool in Red Deer.
Oh, cool. Okay, awesome.
So yeah, they were up there. I heard their helicopter fly in, and I'm like, I'm gonna go meet them. Like, I don't care. I want to meet them so bad. So I walked into like the back door of the hotel. It's just this tiny little inn. It was called Bombay Peggy's, and that thing is stuck in like the Klondike era. And I could hear him talking in the hallway. And I was like, okay, I don't know what to say. I'm 25 years old. I'm such a loser. But I was like, maybe I'll like get mad at him for not coming to the pool to see me or say something like that. Something cheeky I thought would catch his attention. So I was like, hey, I hear you're going to all these games. How come you haven't come to the pool to meet me yet? And he looked me up and down. He kind of smirked. And then he's like, do you have a wine bottle opener? And I was like, no. Why would I have that with you right now? He's like, come with me. So we walked back to his hotel room and he picked up this bottle of wine and he looks at it. He's like, okay, that'll do. Let's go. So we walked downstairs to the little pub that was connected to the restaurant, to the hotel. So it was fun. We sat there and drank all night, and Jack Black was there. So I'd go over and talk to Jack Black, and I'm just like, right? Like,
oh my gosh. Are we done? Because I have questions.
Oh, fire away, girl.
Not to cut you off, but I'm like, okay, the story ends there. You just drank all night with Jack Black and Owen Wilson. Okay, I'm asking because I tend to embarrass myself in front of anybody who's funny. I'll like tend to accidentally quote them or say something. Like if I was hanging out with Owen Wilson, I would like start quoting Wedding Crashers. So like, did you guys have like banter back and forth? Were you like wasted? Or are you like embarrassed, or did you guys hook up? Like, what was the vibe?
Well, we definitely bantered back and forth all night. He was hilarious, and I talked to him lots about stuff. I definitely gave it back to him a couple times. When I'd go over and talk to Jack Black, he'd come and grab me back and say, let's go drink more wine. So by the end of it, our mouths were stained red and we were pretty tipsy. I think we drank 2, maybe 3 bottles.
Oh my God.
Yeah, at the end of the night, he said, so are you still with your son's dad? And I said, yeah. And then he said his little Owen Wilson, all right. Like it is an nasally voice, and I almost died. So yeah. So
I like that he was respectful though.
He's very respectful. Yeah, he's a sweetheart.
That I always worried with these stories. I was like, what if somebody tells me a story and like say Owen Wilson was a huge piece of shit, and you were like, yeah, and then he took advantage of me because I was drunk and I told him I was right, and I was like, oh no. Right. So I'm glad.
Yeah.
Well, one of my friends used to hang out with him all the time. And so I kind of know a bit about his personality, and everyone that I know that has met him says that he's super kind and funny in real life. And I served him at a restaurant once a while back, but was Jack Black as funny as you'd expect him to be? Because I feel like he's not even playing a character in his movies. I feel like he's just hilarious in real life.
Yeah, I expected him to be a little bit more funnier, to be honest, because yeah, he is just so like sarcastically funny without trying, but he was very mellow. He wasn't drinking at all that night.
Oh,
So he was just super, super chill. But yeah, he was lovely to talk to too. But yeah, Owen,
that's funny.
Owen's dog bit my leg that night, nipped up my leg under the table. I was like, "Owen, your dog just bit my leg." He's like, "No, he didn't." He was trying to just razz me.
What kind of dog did he have?
I honestly don't remember. I think it might have been like a golden, like yours, maybe. Yeah, I can't
Like, if
remember though.
it's,
Honestly, it was so long ago.
all I picture him with is like a Marley and Me dog. So
Right?
I'm like, then that fits because, oh my gosh, that's so funny. I feel like when celebrities meet Canadians, they learn two things. They're like, oh, these people can hang, and
Yeah.
two, they can drink.
Yes. Yeah, he learned both those things that night. Yeah.
That's amazing. And was your husband like, yeah, go hang out with Owen Wilson for the night?
I don't think I told him before.
Now, what does he say now?
Well, I'm not with him anymore, so it's all
Oh,
good.
well, toodaloo to him then. You should call up Owen Wilson. I think he's single.
I know, right? Yeah.
That's amazing. Oh my gosh. Thank you for sharing your story. I love that. And I love when I hear nice things about these people too, because it's what I thought, but I like it being confirmed.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, it's so nice to meet you, Sheena. Thank you for
Nice.
coming on.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
All right. Next up, we've got Caroline, who is more than friends with Matt LeBlanc. Caroline?
Hi.
Okay, I'm excited to hear your story because anything to do with the show Friends is right up my alley. So tell me your story.
Okay, so it was about 8 years ago, a little over 8 years ago, before I met my husband, before I got married, I was on Match, and
Joey Tribbiani was on Match.
he was on Match, which just adds to the nuttiness of this whole thing.
Mhm.
But yeah, I was on Match, and I get contacted by this guy, and he didn't have a picture, he didn't have much of a profile or any information really, so I just ignored it. Same guy reaches out, next day. I'm like, what is this guy's kind of annoying? So I ignored it again. Like, I'm not gonna respond. You don't have any information.
Yeah. Show your face, Matt.
Yeah. At least something, give me something. And then he reaches out one more time and he's like, so is that a no? And I'm like, wow, he's persistent. So I reply back and I say, it's really nice. There's just like, really flattered. Thanks so much for your interest, but there's not a whole lot to go by. You don't have a picture. There's not much of, profile. And he's like, I know, I'm kind of in the public eye and, I want to be a little private. And I was like, and then I was like, and then he pings me.
What Z-lister is this?
Well, I'm thinking, yeah, exactly. I'm just like, whatever, dude, okay. He messages me again and he's like, would it help if I give you my Instagram handle? And I'm like, and he says it's like M LeBlanc or something. And I'm like, oh, that's kind of funny. This guy has the same last name as that guy, that character on Friends. And I click on it and I immediately see it is that guy. But
You're
then
like, I'm getting catfished.
I think exactly, Caitlin. I thought I was being catfished. So there's a part of me that's like, I don't know. But he asks by this point, we kind of had a good banter back and forth. So I was at the very least, this guy is, fun to talk to. So he asks for my number and, I give it to him and we continue to text back and forth. And then he immediately, for the most part, he sends me this picture of himself and he's in his kitchen and I could tell it wasn't a picture of,
like a stock
guy
photo
that he pulled off the internet. Yeah. We, have this really good banter. We talk back and forth. And then he asks me to take me out. And I don't know what possessed me, but I suggest this, restaurant that was south of me. And he's north of LA. So the poor guy had to drive like 3 hours. Yeah, he did.
He drove 3 hours to see you?
Which is nuts. Which is the whole thing was, I'm like, what is my life? Like, am I being punked? Is the universe punking me? But we had a really good rapport and it was cute. He was counting down the days and he's like, is it Sunday yet? And so we meet up and sure enough, it's him. the whole point leading up to it, I'm like, it's probably like, I don't know. This isn't for real. But
Yeah.
he was very lovely and very charming and a gentleman. And it was funny because when we first met up, we had a drink in this little kind of corner area. And, immediately people come up and start like fawning out, and it gave me a lot of empathy for someone in the public eye. And, even at dinner, he said, someone just took our picture. And I can imagine this guy is like just trying to go on a first date. Yeah. And, the last thing he needs is like something splattered across. So, but we had a really good time, and we went out again. And, but in between, we texted a lot because he's far up north and I was down south. And the funny thing is, this adds just more to the surrealness of it. I had started a new job, which was keeping me crazy busy. It was actually my first, I call it my grown-up job, because I've always kind of done my own thing. Yeah, this is like the first time I had like this, 9 to 5 type, thing where I was like going into and I was kind of excited. I'm like, wow, benefits. And that's a whole nother story. But so I was on a break and I'm sitting there in the lunchroom eating my little, peanut butter jelly sandwich. And then one of my coworkers just decides to put the television on and, happens to choose Friends. And here I am texting, Matt, and this Friends is on, and I'm like, I kind of want to say something, but I kind of don't. But
oh my God, I would have been like, look.
But I didn't say anything. And
wow,
I don't know. But the whole thing was, it was cool. We went out again. And unfortunately, what happened was it's all meant to be, but he was just in the process of about to shoot that, what do you call it? Top Gear. And it was being shot in the UK. And so he's like, I have to be going off here. And anyway, so that took him away. And then I met my husband, and the rest is history. I met my husband a couple months later, so that took over.
Yeah, that'll do it. Wait, that's so funny. When you were talking, like my brain just goes to quotes even when you were doing it, because you're like, I was on a break. I'm like, we were on a break, and you're like, then I was eating my sandwich, and I'm like, my sandwich. Like I'm just like my brain just goes to Friends quotes immediately, anyways, regardless. So I'm like nerding out over this story. I love that he was nice. Is it appropriate to ask? Did he like kiss you? Did you guys have a little moment?
Kaitlyn, I can say that I kissed Matt LeBlanc.
I feel like I could picture what it would be like from like watching him kiss on the show, and like I don't know. I'm like, I feel like he'd be a good kisser. Yes,
it was nice. Yeah,
so
but I will say, I think my husband was better. So.
Well, yeah, of course, your husband's obviously better in every way. Otherwise, you would have hung around and waited. Now, I always wonder, because I feel like people that are that level of a celebrity, they either like love if you're a fan, or they love that you maybe don't treat them like they're somebody, like they're just a regular human. So, did you guys like talk about his role on Friends? Did you acknowledge it at all? Like, hey, you're the guy from Friends. Did you be like, hey, can you ask how I'm doing?
It's funny you say that, because leading up to this point, I actually had my own company and I sold it a few years prior. And so I was doing my own thing. And this is when I decided to, start this like grown-up job, is what I call it. So it was the first time in my life that I actually had this schedule, and I was busy. So I actually didn't reply to his texts right away. I couldn't meet him until a Sunday. Like I was busy that weekend. Like there was all sorts of
booked and busy.
Yeah, I was natural. I was busy, and
I love it.
And I couldn't meet him. Like our second date just happened to be because I happened to be up in LA for like a training. Like it was one of those things. But we didn't talk a whole lot about, I didn't want to be that person.
Yeah.
I didn't want to be but we did, it can't help but come up. Like he referred to, Schwimmer and, things like that. Like, Schwimmer is shooting this, he's coming over. I'm like, oh, tell him I said hi. He's like, okay. I don't know. It was I just went with, I was like, you know what? This is going to be stories for the grandkids.
Absolutely. And stories for Off the Vine and this podcast, because that is perfect. And then do you still have his number? And is he too old for me? Because you could like share the number with me and maybe I could go on a date with him.
Well,
The story.
Kaitlyn, I mean, you are single now, right? So
I know.
I mean, this is the weird part. I was like, why aren't you on Raya? Or like, why Match? I mean, we did talk about that. I'm like, why are you on
And
Match?
no profile photo.
Well, which kind of, I guess, makes sense, but I'm like, you're not
get
really going to get responded to. Like, it was random that I was like, okay, I'll just respond. I mean, you're persistent. I'm going to respond to you. But yeah,
Right.
I don't know why he chose Match of all places, but I'm, you know,
Maybe he had like a sponsorship with him and he got paid to be on Match and then he ended up getting some really great dates out of it.
maybe, I don't know, or maybe he was doing it for his next, like, I don't know, research or I don't know.
Yeah, I don't. Maybe he was
But
an
he's
investor
like,
in Match.
he did say, I don't know, I wanted to try it and, I want to meet some. It's just like,
That's
he
so
honestly,
funny.
he really is like a normal dude, honestly. Like at the end of the day, yes, he has this, history and
Right.
he's kind of normal dude. I mean, as normal as you can be, I guess. But yeah, we did text a little bit. I mean, I remember talking to him right around his daughter's birthday. I, texted him a happy birthday for her and we talked a little bit and then once for his birthday. But after that, I was already, that was it. So.
Well, I love that. Thank you for sharing your story. Did you guys get any, not that I'm going to ask you because I'm not going to out you, but did you get any like photos with him or were you like, I'm not going to do that?
I wasn't going to do that. I didn't.
So
I know. And the
chill.
funny thing is like the only people I told were my friends. I mean, this is actually the first time I guess you can call it public. I don't know. You don't know who I am, but yeah, like
That's public.
first time mentioning it. So
If you're in LA and people are taking photos of you at dinner, it never like went anywhere. It wasn't like on TMZ or Us Weekly or like nothing ever came out of it.
not that I heard. Yeah, no, but I could tell he was like really aware of, just his surroundings, which again gave me a lot of empathy. Like, it's funny because he'd be like, why don't you just come over to, I have a ranch up in Santa Barbara, or I have, come over, blah, 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 blah. And I don't know, maybe in my more wild
you don't
days,
have
I
a
would have been like,
profile
"Sure,"
photo.
but
You
it
could
was,
be a murderer.
yeah, yeah. And also that was before I actually met him face to face.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, nothing that I am aware of that came out. So
I know, because I like wanted to do some Google. I'm like, who was Matt LeBlanc out for dinner with about this many years ago?
I mean,
Trying
it
to
makes
stalk
me
you.
think if he went out with anyone else, like, would they have said something? But the story didn't come out, so maybe we were all, I guess, up until this point,
Anonymous until now.
Yeah,
No, you're still anonymous. I love it.
But
Thank you.
But I'm gonna say, at least I can say that he was a nice guy, and we're friends.
Yeah, you know what? You're friends. I know. I'm like, I had to add that in the intro. I was like, she's more than friends with.
Yeah.
Gotta make the friends jokes. Oh my gosh, Caroline, thank you so much for sharing your story. I love talking to you. That was a good one.
I love you and I love your podcast. I've listened to every single episode. You're the only person that I would like share this story other than with my friends. So
oh, it makes me want to cry. Oh, that's so nice. Thank you for being so supportive and sweet. I freaking love you.
You too.
All right. I love smelling good. And, at the end of the day or after a night out, things can start smelling a little funky. But thanks to our sponsor, Lumi, you can smell good all day long. And Lumi is a game-changing whole body deodorant designed by an OBGYN to work not only on pits, but also anywhere else that gets odor, like your feet, under boob. I wouldn't know. I don't have that. But no matter where you use it, Lumi is clinically proven to block odor for up to 72 hours. And they've got over 275,000 five-star reviews to show for it. And we love proof. So as a special offer for our listeners, new customers, you're going to get $5 off a Lumi starter pack with code VINE at LumiDeodorant.com. And that equates to over 40% off your starter pack when you visit LumiDeodorant.com and use code VINE. Okay, chop the hair. Can't even begin to tell you how much better my hair feels. It really does. It feels just healthier, shinier, and I just want to make sure it stays like this forever. So I started incorporating, well, I shouldn't say I started. I've been doing it for a while now, but Ouai's new hair gloss, which literally gives me immediate shine straight from the shower. And it also enhances my color vibrancy, which allows my color to not fade so fast. I love that. I always am looking for a product that does it, and this one does. And it's also serving as a heat protectant that can help prevent damage up to 450 degrees. A little baby does everything. I also have to tell you how amazing it smells because we all know it's just so much better when something smells good, and it's so good. Okay, Ouai's scents are inspired by the world's most fashionable cities like Sydney's iconic Bondi Beach to the vibrant streets of Paris. Ugh, Chic. So give your hair a glow up with Way. Go to the Way, that's TheOuai.com, and use promo code VINE for 15% off any product. That's the Way, TheOuai.com, promo code VINE. Okay, now we have with her 50 Shades of A with Canadian NHL player.
Hi, Kaitlyn.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm so good. I love any story that has to do with a hockey player.
Yes, when I saw your post, I was like, oh, I have to send her this one.
I definitely picked that one as a Canadian. I'm like, yes, tell me everything. I don't know anything. They don't prep me because I want to be surprised. So you just fill me in on your story.
So years ago, I worked for a production company and we assisted on a shoot with Auston Matthews from the Toronto Maple Leafs. And we went to Canada to shoot him. And after we were done, we went out for drinks and for dinner. And this kid had the most non-functional pants on. There were no pockets. And he had an absurd amount of crack with him. And I had a bag with me. What?
He had a certain what amount of what?
Like so much random crap with him. Just
oh my god, I thought you said crack, like the drug.
Oh my god, no.
Wow,
No.
we are really outing Auston Matthews.
No, he didn't have drugs on him. He just had so much random shit with him out at the bar. And I had a bag and he started giving me stuff to hold. I had like pieces of his wardrobe. I had his car keys. He ended up giving me his wallet and like his ID was on the front of it. And it said he was 19. And I was like, holy crap, I didn't realize this kid was 19. Like if he was in the US, he wouldn't be able to drink right now. And of course he has his fake that he hands me to hold too. So I have his whole life in my hands and the bar ends up closing and we all go back to the hotel where production and he's staying and some guy's like, yeah, let's have an after party in the room. Everyone's completely bombed. We're going up the elevator. People start getting off and the guy who's supposed to have the party is hammered and just vanishes. And the party's obviously not happening. I've passed my floor already and it's just me and Auston Matthews left on the elevator. And we get to his floor and he's getting off and I'm like, oh shit, I have all your stuff. And so I get off, give him his stuff and I'm like ready to go back to my room. And he's like, wait, can you help me? Like my curtains won't close. Can you fix them for me?
My curtains won't close. Smooth, buddy.
I'm like, this is really weird, but you know what? I will he is the client right now. I'll close his curtains and then I'm like off on my way. So I do that and I'm getting ready to leave after I fix his curtains. And he's like, hey, you want to hang out? Want to watch a movie? I watched a really good movie this week. It's about this guy and this girl and they do some frisky stuff together. It's like a color in the title. I was like, are you asking me to watch 50 Shades of Grey with you right now? He's like, yeah, it's a great film. And he's laying in his bed, like all spread out. And I'm just like, I'm all set. I'm gonna go to bed and I'm heading out the door and he's like, wait, I have another question for you. I don't really think you're gonna like it, but I'm gonna ask anyways. Oh god. Do you wanna sit on my face?
No. Oh my gosh. And you're like, if I said like I almost didn't come close your curtains for you, but you think I'm gonna say yes to sitting on your face?
Yeah, and he's just sitting there so innocently. I'm like, Auston, I'm 7 years older than you, and the answer would have been no anyways, but have a good night. He's like, well, it never hurts to try.
Oh my god. You're like, I'll come help you with your curtains, and then all of a sudden he's like strapped up to the bed with like a ball in his mouth. Being like, you want to watch some movie that has to do with 50 Shades of some color I don't know of? Yeah,
it really escalated quickly.
Oh, that sounds about right. I feel like that was really brave of him to try like that. But oh my gosh, are you a big hockey fan?
I am.
So did you know who he was before?
I did. I knew he was like up and coming. It was one of his earlier years in the league, but I didn't realize how young he was at the time either. He looked so much older in person too.
Oh my gosh. Have you talked to him since? Like, did you have to see him as the client? Did you have to like see him the next day?
I saw him the next day and he was super hungover. I don't even know if he remembers any of it.
Yeah. Oh man.
It was not the experience I was expecting with him, but I applaud his effort. Like, go for it.
I love it. You do a really good hockey player impression too. Like, hey, you want to sit on my face? That's amazing. Oh my gosh. He probably didn't even remember. He was blackout for sure.
Oh my god. Yeah, no chance he remembers. He passed out like after I told him no.
Well, I hope a Vino is friends with him now and we can tell him what happened and he can know the truth. A lot of girls would go for that. A Canadian hockey player in Toronto, a couple Toronto girls might be like, I was waiting for you to ask me that.
Well, it's funny because I was telling this story to like my buddies after it happened, and they're like, "You didn't sit on his face? Are you serious?" And if he was older, like I'd maybe like make out with him or something.
Totally.
But
Sitting on a face is quite aggressive for a
of a
first.
19-year-old, they're like, "Oh, age doesn't matter. He's an NHL guy." Like
They're like,
I was like
technically he's an
27.
adult.
Yeah. Like I can't get on board with a 19-year-old as a 27-year-old female.
I mean, I hear you on that one. That's a little 21 is probably not for me now, but at the age of 27, I probably would have said 21 is like my youngest I would go. Now I'm like, you have to be 40. I don't even want anything under 40. No.
Yes, exactly.
Oh, I love it. Well, thank you for sharing your story and thanks for coming on the podcast.
Yeah, thanks, Kaitlyn. I love your podcast.
Okay, do you fantasize about who you'd be if you lived somewhere different? Maybe you'd surf or live by the ocean, or maybe you lived above a coffee shop. Maybe you'd finally write that novel. If you had a dishwasher, maybe you'd actually cook a proper dinner at home. Well, with over 1 million available units for rent on apartments.com, the you abilities are endless. And with instant alerts, you'll never miss out on seeing what could be your new perfect place. Visit apartments.com, the place to find a place.
Hearing these stories, I've got obviously a few of my own. We're not going to completely air my dirty laundry with my hockey hookups or certain celebrities, but I am going to share one because I think this one's really funny. Now, I don't think I've shared this on my podcast before, so here we go. I was in Vancouver one time and I was at this bar that my friend worked at. And if you ever see me at a bar, you know that I tear up the D floor. I go for it dancing. I'm like, I don't even care how sweaty I get. I'm like going for it. And I was in the basement of this club. I want to say I was like 20, I don't know, 2 maybe. And I'm dancing, I'm sweating, and I look over and I see Benji and Joel Madden from the band Good Charlotte. And I was like an emo kid growing up. Good Charlotte was like, I loved them. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's Benji and Joel. And people in Vancouver really leave other people alone. So people weren't really bothering them. But I'm like, okay, one of the brothers is staring at me. I get it. I'm absolutely murdering the dance floor. So I get why he's staring. But I ended up talking to him and telling him where I worked, which at the time, shout out to any Earl's girls out there in Canada. I worked at this restaurant called Earl's and I lied to him and I told him that I was a manager. I wanted him to think I had a big girl job. I was really a hostess. Now, as a hostess at Earl's, we got to wear whatever we wanted and the servers had to wear all black. So I was like, oh, I'm going for it. I'm going to dress in like a power suit. I'm going to look like when you ask to speak to the manager, that will be me. And so I didn't know if he was actually going to come in the next day to the restaurant, but him and his brother Joel came in, they sat at a table and everyone in the restaurant was in on the fact that I was a manager that day. And so they were ordering their food and, the server would be like, oh, Kaitlyn, can you help me ring this up? And I was like, oh, of course, because I'm the manager. And anyways, after work, I ended up sitting with them and hanging out. We had dinner and then went back to the hotel room and ended up totally hook up with Benji. I'm not telling you how far, but we didn't go all the way. Okay. But we were hooking up and then I was like, oh no, I really actually like him. He's very nice. And so the next day we talked, exchanged numbers, and then we went out again. And he said, hey, do you want to come? We are recording at a recording studio and there's fireworks happening in Vancouver tonight. So he takes me and a bunch of my girlfriends up to the roof of this recording studio in Vancouver. We watch the fireworks and God bless my friend Sheena. She goes, what's your music again? And he was like, it's Good Charlotte. And this is back in this day where she goes, oh yeah, I burn your CDs all the time. I burn your music onto CDs. And he's like, please don't tell any artist that. Like, please pay for my music. Don't burn it and steal it off the internet. And she was like, got it. Anyways, so what was really special, and I've definitely never shared this, but he knew about one of my best friends that had died in the car accident, Lindsay, and he had a friend who had died. And then he said a lot of fans like write in about how music gets them through certain things. He ended up writing a song and wanted me and my best friend Bree to hear it. And he was like, yeah, Lindsay inspired us to write this. I'll remember what it's called and we can put it somewhere, but it didn't end up going on the album. But he ended up writing me when the album came out, and he's like, that one song didn't make it, but like it's one of the fan favorites and we still have it out on the internet for people to hear. And then he wanted to come back to my house one night, and I was embarrassed of where I lived, and I lived with a roommate. So I'm just full of lies to Benji Madden. If this ever gets back to him, which it probably won't, I just lied to him so many times. I was like, yeah, come to my apartment. No, I borrowed my friend's apartment because it was much nicer, and took him back there, and we made out all night. You just got to fake it till you make it, or fake it until you make out, and then you hope to never see them again. Well, here's the kicker. Years later, somehow I got in touch with him. Okay, this is not the kicker yet. Years later, hooked up with him again when he came back to Vancouver. Years later, I become the Bachelorette. My girlfriend Penny invites me to go to this fundraiser at this place. I think it's called the Roxy in LA. She goes, you want to come to this fundraiser with me? Good Charlotte's playing. These other bands are playing. And I was like, oh my gosh. I'm like, this is right across from my hotel. I'll come. LOL. I wonder if Benji would even remember me. It had been like quite a few years. I'm sure, of course, he remembered me. So I go into this little VIP area, and Joel Madden, who at this time was married to Nicole Richie, still is. He's like, Kaitlyn, congrats on everything. Wow. Like, did you ever think you'd be going on as the Bachelorette? And I was like, no. And I was like, so good to see you. And he was like, Benji would love to say hi, I'm sure. He's going to be down in like 10 minutes. And I go, cool. 10 minutes passes. He didn't come down yet. And I really was headed out the door. And at that time I was engaged, and I was like, maybe it's better if I just head on out. So Penny and I leave. And the next day, Us Weekly, Kaitlyn Bristowe, Bachelorette, and Joel Madden get cozy in a corner at this bar in LA. And there's photos of us hugging, when really he was hugging me, being like, Benji would love to see you. Like, how have you been? Congrats on everything. Nobody knew that. And it was all over this magazine, which you can literally see. Hold on. I hope Nicole Richie wasn't like, who the is that? Why is she hugging you? After the Madden's performance, the two brothers made their way to the VIP area where Bristowe, who has gotten a lot of backlash for having sex. Oh, just painting me out to all. Let's just paint this picture. She is a whore, so she probably slept with Joel. Kaitlyn, after having sex with the contestant on this season's The Bachelorette, was waiting for them. Was not waiting for them. This is how stupid. If you are one of those people out there that read headlines and magazines and believe them, please believe me when I say they're lying. Joel strolled over to say hello, and they shared a really big hug, says the eyewitness. After the duo allegedly moved away from the crowd into a dark corner of the bar, they engaged in conversation for quite some time. It was like 5 minutes. Kaitlyn was being super flirty, reaching out to touch his arm as they chatted. They clearly had a lot of chemistry. Madden and Bristowe were not spotted leaving the club together, but the eyewitness tells the magazine Kaitlyn wore a cat who ate the canary smile. What the is a cat who ate the canary smile? Apparently that's what I was wearing on my way out. I wouldn't be surprised if she gave him her number, or even if they made plans to meet up later, the source adds. As RadarOnline.com previously reported, Madden 36 and his wife of 5 years, 33-year-old Richie, have been on the rocks lately and recently moved into a new home in Beverly Hills in attempts to salvage their marriage. No, they're still together, you assholes. I really want to, there's a picture somewhere, I'll find it, and we can post it on the Off the Vine and say, Nicole, I was actually hooking up with Benji years ago, and I was waiting for him. I am not Mr. Steal Your Man. Okay. And with that, let's close the Vinofessionals and our celebrity encounters. Everybody was nice. At the end of the day, we don't have anything bad to say about them. That will be for another one. And for our next Vinofessional, we would like to hear stories of sexy time gone wrong. Did you let out a toot, a queef? No shame in your game. Something embarrassing that happened during sexy time. I've got a few. Maybe I'll share one. But I'd like to hear from you. So email offthevinepodcast@gmail.com. Make sure to make your subject juicy. Well, maybe this one would be gross with juicy, but something that stands out so that we pick your confession.
I'm Kaitlyn Bristowe. Your session is now ending. And if I'm being honest, I wouldn't mind a rating and review.